We're
live.
Oh, wow.
We're live. What's up?
We're live.
Welcome to the Culture and Cannabis podcast. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. Haven't been back in the studios. I've been away for 2 weeks, as you guys probably saw. We had 2 weeks ago. We had Derek in here, and then we had JC and G. Yep. And today we have a great podcast. It's episode number 16. We're here today with Vincent, Norment from the Marijuana Hall of Fame. How we doing, sir?
We're doing great.
Before the podcast, we were talking. You've been traveling, my man. Where you been?
It's been really crazy. I was in Miami Monday. Met with Ricky Williams. We're doing the rounds of inducting for 2020, the inauguration, first class, Marijuana Hall of Fame. So I had a chance to meet with him, and also
Ricky Williams, the baseball player.
Ricky Williams, the football player.
Played at Texas.
Played at Texas, the Longhorns, and then he was drafted by the big old Shazam, New Orleans, with Mike Dicker, and then he went. Back, and then he ended up finishing his career in Miami. Yeah, the Dolphins.
But he was a monster too. Won a Heisman too. I'm pretty sure.
He won a Heisman Trophy. Heisman Trophy winner. Came behind Earl Campbell. The great Earl Campbell, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So
So you've been talking to him about getting into Marijuana Hall of Fame?
We definitely going to be inducting him.
That's
as well.
Awesome.
First, if you look at who paved the way in sports, his name comes to mind, and I do encourage anybody out there that have somebody that's in sports ahead of Ricky Williams, please contact me, info@Marijuana Hall of Fame. I'd love to hear it. But right now, I think he is definitely the person who paved that way and stood up for cannabis.
100%. Back, what was that, like 2005, 2006 was kind of when he came out and said, hey, listen, I use cannabis because I've been smashing my head into 250-pound guys for the past, 20 years at that point. So, I remember seeing that in Sports Illustrated when I was like in the 6th grade, because Ricky Williams is someone who I looked up to as a football player, right? Playing my whole life. He was just a stud, dude. That guy was insane. I used to beat him in NFL Street. If you guys remember that video game on PlayStation, I don't know if you guys played it or not. Okay. But there's this video game called NFL Street, and you can jump off the walls, and he was the best player in the game just because he was so versatile. But
Ricky Williams.
Ricky Williams.
So before we dive into other stuff, let's just talk about the Marijuana Hall of Fame. What is it? How'd you get started?
Well, the Marijuana Hall of Fame is, I kind of align it with kind of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But what's really so good about it is for the community, the cannabis community. We want to acknowledge those who paved the way. Prop 64. In '96, when California, first came out and made it legal, medical, definitely kind of paved the way and started the talk, along with other states, to follow suit. Now we have 33 states that's medical, and 11 states that's recreational. So we want to, kind of acknowledge those who paved the way, to give them the recognition and enshrine them in the Marijuana Hall of Fame forever. People like Willie Nelson, who, when it wasn't cool, he stood up for it and, got locked up. Bob Marley, who strictly, wrote a lot of songs about it.
Of course. And
also was a big component and advocate for cannabis and what they call it, ganja back in the marijuana hood.
Ganja.
Yeah. So, on that point, when I was in Miami, I got a chance to meet his son as well. And so we got to talking about the Marley family, and we're going to be inducting Bob Marley. And so we wanted their blessings.
Ziggy Marley.
Not Ziggy. Ziggy is...
Another son.
No. So so many of them.
Yeah, he's got a couple.
He's got quite a few.
He's a ladies' man for sure.
So, but no, just like I said again, people who paved the way, who set the standards, and for cannabis to be where it's at right now in 2019, and we got a long way to go, but I think it's a pretty good start here.
Oh, I definitely believe it, my man. And so you got to bring out my great friend JC sitting here next to me to Chicago. What was that, 3 weeks ago? No, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
You guys got to do something else really cool in the Chicago cannabis market that's up and coming right now. You want to talk about that, JC?
Yeah, it's just been cool getting to know you, right? We got connected through the Culture and Cannabis event series, and
right here in Vegas.
Yeah, and I think it was G that got us connected.
Right. Yeah. That's right. G.
And we didn't really know each other before that,
right.
But you kind of saw what we were doing and stuff, and wanted to be a part of it, and we got connected through that way, and we've stayed friends, right?
Right,
It's
that's
like
right.
it's going on kind of like a year now, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. Actually, I touched down in Vegas October 31st last year.
Happy
So
Halloween.
today is Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
And 1 year anniversary of being here, in Vegas. So yeah, you're right.
Vince is the
It was
only
1 year.
person here that's representing Halloween by wearing an orange. I guess we're all kind of. I mean, you're wearing like a little burnt maroon here. We were gonna wear costumes today, but JC flaked on us. We were gonna be the Blues Brothers, and it didn't end up working out. But
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good. Next year, in 52 weeks, guys, we'll do it all over again.
Right. There you go.
But yeah, so last year, this time you landed in Vegas. Marijuana Hall of Fame is an idea. Then is that you're rocking and rolling on it?
It was conceptual. We
Yeah.
kind of working on, just understanding, the recreational side here in Vegas and learning, a little bit more about the cannabis industry. Do have a background in it, but just from a recreational side, really how it works here in Vegas. So, and then meeting people along the way, JC and people at G5, Redwood, Paul, the CEO over there, Tyrone, Paint and Puff, and just people in the community and learning, how it all comes together. The people over at Planet 13, et cetera. I can go on and on and on, but there's a lot of people that kind of helped me kind of get a better understanding of how we're going to make this, this community, make it work. And as I said all along, it's not about me, being a founder of the Marijuana Hall of Fame. It's about the community. It's about recognizing people and, making everybody feel like we have a place that we can now celebrate people who've paved the way.
100%. 100%. And, talking about emerging markets, right, going back to you guys' time in Chicago. So you working out there? I mean, obviously you're traveling back and forth right now between Chicago, Vegas, and then other emerging markets as well, right?
Right. I went back to Chicago. Of course, we're going to be recreational 2020. And
Shout out.
So, shout out recreational Governor Pritzker and the people who campaigned.
Yeah, two thumbs up.
But so I was with a group out there that wanted to apply for the license, dispensary license for 2020, and so they brought me on the team and got involved for BC Cannabis group, and so so what we're doing is we're applying for a license. The big thing that's going on right now, which is JC is kind of getting cool with, is the social equity side of it, and so. What we did was basically got together, applied for a license, and so we're in that process. And then so I reached out to the group and I said, I built a relationship with this guy here in Vegas. We should bring him out to our first event. And so that's actually how it transpired. I reached out to JC. So JC, we having a cannabis event, and I think that. We would like for you to come out, and share knowledge with the community. It's new, and so JC accepted the invitation, and we was excited, and we brought him out.
Yeah. It was a dope experience.
You had a great time or what?
I mean, yeah, we did have a great time, and it's just crazy. I mean, my mind is always blown, right, of the cannabis plant and what it's done in my life and what it's doing in other people's life, and by the way, what it's done in people's lives, generations before us, right? Right. Some people that were doing it before it was cool, but before you could actually make money from it. But yeah, no, I have a story, right? I never really thought that cannabis would be, create like a livelihood, situation for me and do all these things. And, I had a story and I was able to go down there and share it. It was dope. It was dope. I mean, cause here's the thing, right? Cause like Vegas, some other markets, right, where cannabis has been legal and some things are moving along, right? Like, it's just a learning process, right? Because it's a new market and it's been, through prohibition and everybody's trying to find their place in it, right? And so when I walked into that, I think it was the Brownsville incubator, right? Which is like a kind of a shared space, entrepreneurial shared space in South Chicago, right?
South Chicago, correct.
There's about 200 people there, and they were just like some of the most hungry, some of the most curious people. Everybody just trying to figure out the cannabis game, right? And it's almost like a time capsule because it throws you back to when when it was going through the medical days here and all that stuff, and you see it kind of unfolding and playing out over there. You know, the message that I had that I was able to deliver was well received, and so it was great. It was a great experience.
So you know, and this is kind of a hot topic that's happening. Unfortunately, Nevada didn't, you know, adapt this model, but I think it's so awesome that other markets are, and this is idea of the social equity program, correct? And so, from what I understanding, essentially, it's anyone who's been impacted by illegal, you know, the cannabis being illegal, right? And the sense of disproportionately not being represented in the new legalization of cannabis. So they're doing, you know, programs to combat that to help minorities get licenses, because, you know, what's happening is that these multi-million-dollar people and multi-billion-dollar companies are coming in and they're buying up all the licenses and not giving it to the people who actually paved the way for cannabis to become legalized, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is, you know, the same people that are, you know, the bigger companies that have the money that are coming in and swooping up, brand, you know, equity space in the market, right? Are the same people that kind of like we're back in the war on drugs, right? And so the war on drugs is really kind of damaged.
A lot of communities, a lot of families, a lot of, you know, I mean, just social. And like you said, social equity in itself, you know, a lot of disproportionate, and a lot of people, you know, was incarcerated for this, and to see now this multi-billion-dollar industry, and these corporations are coming in, and people that don't even, they had nothing to do with cannabis or, you know, CBD or just period, see the opportunity, the investment opportunity, and they're coming in, and like you said, it's just to be fair, you know, and to be righteous with the communities itself and just individuals in itself. And so this is going to be the topic. You know, I think JC hit it and kind of picked up on it. This is going to be the topic, and Illinois is setting a model for, you know, other states to follow, is to be able to, you know, acknowledge those people and give them the opportunity to be a part of this as well.
Yeah. And so for anyone that's listening in Chicago right now or watching right now live, you know, I have the stats pulled up here about the Illinois Adult Use Cannabis and Social Equity Program. Essentially what it has is that at least 51% ownership has to be controlled by one or more individuals who lived in the disproportionately impacted area in the past 5 to 10 years, have been arrested or convicted or adjusted delinquent for cannabis-related offenses, have a parent, child, or spouse that have been arrested or convicted due to cannabis-related charges. And then also it has on here too is that you have to have at least 10 full-time employees that have kind of the same thing, been impacted by, arrested or convicted due to cannabis laws. And it's so crazy to me because, you know, in some states this is still happening today.
It's still happening.
It's still happening across the country, and, you know, in Alabama and Georgia and all these states that are so behind with the cannabis laws. And so it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's you know, this is a light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people, right? The idea that the social equity program is going to, you know, probably do very well in Illinois, that model will get moved over into a lot of other states. It's unfortunate Nevada hasn't adopted that program yet. Hopefully, you know, something like that can be changed in the future when they do release new licenses. But, you know, it's very exciting to see people that have, you know, been affected by it to actually have their opportunity now to seize it. And, you know, going back to the, like, right, this is called the Culture and Cannabis podcast. Without these groups that, you know, were unfortunately prosecuted due to the cannabis plant, we now have the ability to talk about this culture that they created and promote them, and people like Vincent himself, and anyone else that's been affected by it. So I think, you know, it's a really cool program. It's really cool that you guys got to be involved in it. I definitely can't wait to go out there and check it out and see what you guys got going.
Definitely.
I mean, here's the thing. So, like I've talked to people about the social equity programs, and it almost seems to, you know, be a hot term, you know, right now, and with everything that's happening. And I mean, you know, I'm getting mixed reviews, right? It's like some people think it's a great idea, and then other people, like, I think what state was the young black lady got awarded a cannabis license? I think it was in New York.
Maybe.
But,
I'm not sure.
It was on the East Coast somewhere, and then she was one of the first social equity applicants that received a retail license. She was denied apparently a license for production and cultivation. I don't know if she was denied, but she was actually she applied for all three of them. She was only able to get the the retail license. So it was kind of like just a little bit of pushback, right? Like it's cool that you guys are mentioning, all the people that you guys affected type of situation. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the man versus the people type of thing.
100%.
And so there's mixed reviews, right? So some people think it's cute and it's it's a tool to pass get the ball down the field with legislation, right? With people who have actually ties, or being financially impacted by getting that legislation down the field, right? And maybe they stand behind that when but then there's also people who are it's creating opportunity, right? And so it's just one of these things that we just have to be responsible for it. We have to do the due diligence, right?
Well, I think the other issue too is that a perfect example is the medical program, right? The idea that as soon as recreational hit Nevada, the patients really got forgotten, and there's some dispensaries that do try to make them a priority, but in the market, there isn't a clear defined, like, this is for recreational and this is for medical. And I fortunately got to go to Colorado last week and got to go check out a bunch of different dispensaries in a bunch of different states. And their rule is that they get a certain amount of plants based on how many patients they have, right? So it incentivizes them to go get more medical patients and serve that market better. Where in Nevada, we don't have anything like that. It's it's identical, right? It's on rec medical. Free for all, essentially. So I hopefully that moving forward with these types of programs, that everything gets seen through, because a lot of times these programs are the reason why laws like legalizing cannabis get approved, right?
Sure.
The reason why it happened in Nevada was for the patients. It wasn't for anything else. It wasn't for the recreational. It was for the patients. Obviously, the state wants to collect their taxes, but at the same time, they passed it for the patients. And so we just hope that we can, push that through with the social equity program.
And the other part of that is being able to really talk to, because one thing I notice is, and I'm kind of like in the middle of this thing here, where the Marijuana Hall of Fame, like you got people, the culture, and they should be, the advocates and stuff. They're like, hey man, we really like this and believe this, and then you have the corporate side, you got the CEOs and the executives, and they think it's a great idea as well, and everybody has their own opinion of how this should all come together, and I think just for the most part, it should be a unite of, the corporate and the culture, and be able to understand and bring that together, and share in opinions and conversations, and the leaderships, people that's at the top, these CEOs, to really be able to say, social equity is the right thing to do, and really look at ways to bring both cultures together, because if not, there's going to be this division, where, we over here and they over here, like you just said earlier, the man, and we got to listen to the man. Well, it shouldn't be that way. It should be more a unified community to really push this, where we all can benefit, and the injustice that was done, let's make it right. Let's really make it right, because it's a lot of communities devastated, a lot of people, families devastated, it's a lot of fathers were locked up, taken away from their kids, and so those kids were impacted as well, So, so I just think if we are able to kind of get the dialogue going and talk about those different things, and be able to kind of like share in our differences and come together, it'd be best.
I agree too, and it's just a trip because, like, and I hope that the social equity movement kind of works, and I hope that Illinois can get it figured out. But let's take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Let's take a look at Oklahoma, right? So Oklahoma released, talk about a free for all, right? So I think there's like 2,000 licenses.
Oh yeah.
Just in the production and cultivation sector, right, in Oklahoma, right? And so there's no social equity out there. It's like if you have $2,500 and you don't have any felonies, right, you can apply and get your thing, right? And so what that creates, right, is the oversaturation, right? The $5 eighths and this and that, and then the farmers can't make any money, right? And so it's an interesting dichotomy to where we have to land, and I hope that the new markets are watching, right? Because the proof is all in the pudding, and watching how this is unfolding and this and that. And I would hope to think that some of these new markets aren't doing what Oklahoma did, and just what kind of looked like didn't do any,
Well, they really didn't. I think that they really didn't do any studying.
Yeah, they just released everything, and
my hat's off to Oklahoma. I mean, hey,
they passed
the bill.
Yeah, I'm not hitting on Oklahoma. It just seems like
JC's also from Oklahoma, so he can hit on him just a little bit.
Not so much. No, I don't look at it that way. But what I say is that, like you said, it's important to have structure, and be able to, do this right, because again, if it's the Wild Wild West, then that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the Wild Wild West, and a lot of people going to be affected in a negative way.
Yeah, and then the other end of the spectrum here is, you have the social equity programs, and you have the strict licensing programs, and what ended up happening is, it's going to be a better market, right? The people that are in business, it's going to be better for, the movement of money and everything like that, but some people are going to get left out.
Yeah.
But that's and that going back to that though, that's sometimes going to be life, right? Not everybody's going to be a winner. There's only one winner at the end of the Super Bowl and the World Series. As you saw last night. Shout out to the Washington Nationals for winning. Not a Washington Nationals fan.
They were destined. Right?
They were destined to win. So I think that there's a fine line of over-regulation to under-regulation. I think Nevada, other than some few things such as medical programs, social equity programs, as far as regulations go, they've done a really great job, right? Obviously, they've created a very thriving market, and a lot of states are going to look after that. Kind of similar to Colorado. Colorado, obviously, a little bit focused on the medical, being the first state to be recreationally legal, but it's interesting, right? I'm really interested to see how Chicago, turns out. I'm really interested to see what you think about Chicago.
Right.
Do you think that it's going to be more similar to a market like Nevada, or something, something different?
Definitely not like kind of somewhat like Nevada, but more of again the opportunities across the board. That very diverse. I think that it's strange in a way where, Nevada has a really good recreational program, but when you look at the diversity, then it's like, wait a minute, where are, people that look like me, or people that look like this person over here, or so I think that we, it's important to have a strong recreational program, which I think, again, hats off to Nevada. They do have here, especially here in Las Vegas. But just being able to be very diverse, and giving everybody an opportunity, and not just putting somebody in the front and then, the corporations come in the back and so forth. So again, not pointing fingers. We got to have this conversation. We got to talk about it, because that's how we get it right. We got 11 states recreational. So what is it? 39 to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So-
and so many markets already have some type of medical program as well, right? Whether that be with they're cool with CBD and hemp in the market, or they have some type of medical program. So yeah, I think that having this conversation continually, it makes it better, because when there is a potential federal framework for legalization, we need to have the most ultimate program so that anyone could be involved. And going back to a perfect example, not that I hate to make this comparison, but alcohol and cannabis. I think I saw this like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, the first ever black owned brewery that came apart in 2019. It's like alcohol has been legal since the early 1900s. So the fact that it took this long to get there is obviously there's some type of injustice going on. Mm-hmm. And so it's cool that we're trying to fix that in cannabis right off the bat. But like Vincent said it, sometimes the face is there, but the backing behind it and who's actually collected the money is this big corporation. So we just got to make sure that we're doing it all correctly. And obviously Vincent out in Chicago is holding it down for us, and
Right.
And making sure sure that it's all good.
But I do want to say the most important thing about it, though, you just can't give a person a license just because they have color. You know?
Of course.
You know, I mean, people got to do their homework. People got to qualify. You know, I think that's important as well. You know, we don't want to be, you know, quota status. You know, because then that becomes a problem because now you've got somebody in the business that's really not qualified and really don't understand the business, and they're going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we want people to win. So, you know, we want to educate people, you know, and people just because, you know, the diverse background, but you also got to do the work. You know, I think that's important. Our team in Chicago, you know, that's what I push with them, is that we got to do the work. You know, we got to, you know, cross the T's, dot the I's, get everything done, do it right. That way, you know, if we get our license, you know, we earned it, you know, and that's what's important too. And I always said, you know, in Illinois, and I've been having this conversation, you know, if there's going to be 77 licenses issued in the state of Illinois for recreational in 2020, you know what I'm saying, let's make sure that, you know, a percentage of that, those licenses are issued out to minorities, you know, and whether that's women, you know, Asians or whoever, people of color, but let's make sure that a proportion of that is issued out. Yeah. And if we don't get a license, but, you know, my fellow brothers do or somebody else along the way, I support it 110% as long as it's diverse, you know, as long as the right people are getting the license and it's being fair. That's all we can ask.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, at the end of the day, you have a group of people, right? You know, and you want to get an answer, right? You want to get this, you want to get the, you know, let's just do an analogy, right? You have a group of people, and you know, you're trying to get the perfect kind of scenario for whatever situation that you want, right? This is a broad example, right? But you want a diverse group of people in that room, right? To get you all the different opinions and viewpoints to kind of like shake out like what is fair for everybody. You know what I mean? And I truly hope that social equity, these programs continue to grow in that direction, and it gets accomplish what it's trying to do. But you know, let's not forget about the legislators, right? The people that actually, you know, say yes and or it gets voted in, right? And then they have to create these programs, right?
Policies,
and so like it's on their ass, right? If they don't, you know, if they don't create the perfect program, right? And so they have to be, you know, kind of picky who gets what, you know, license and this and that. But
here's a quick reminder and a prime example. And I want to speak to the audience. I know maybe a lot of people are not really tied down with sports, but what just happened recently over the last two or 3 weeks was California came out and said, listen, we're going to start paying the college athletes.
Yep.
It's fair.
Yeah.
And NCAA was like, no, we're not doing that. But guess what? 24 hours ago, the NCAA just made an announcement.
Yeah.
That they're going to start paying that.
Yeah, that's massive. That's massive.
And that's huge. That's huge because billions of dollars are being transported. It's all these different things. So people,
it changes culture completely.
It changes culture completely.
Yeah.
And it changes families and dynamics. You know, I can now, if I got the talent and I can make money. And the NCAA is not going to pay these guys to play for college, but I can get out there and earn a living. If Nike want to give me a contract, if you know Coach Cannabis want to give me a contract, I can sign a contract. You know,
if the college stadium is selling 1,500 jerseys a week with my name on it, right? I should get a little bit of that.
Yeah, and you know, just going over that, I got to check that out. My college project was about the NCAA and how the term student athlete essentially made them free workers, right? Slave workers, in the sense that, you know, they go out there and they put their whole body, their whole life on the line for these sports. Yeah. I mean, football is obviously the number one sport just because that's what sells. So it's interesting to see. And so now they're going to be able to make anything off essentially their name or their likeness or brand that they build. They can make money off that, where before they couldn't. Where, you know, if I'm a scientist engineer at the University of Alabama, I make a prototype. I can make as much money as I want off that, right? Obviously, the university's going to take their cut, but when, you know, if I'm the starting quarterback, right? If I'm the running back and I'm going to get hit by a 250-pound guy, I don't get paid for that, right? And that sells way more. It makes way more money for the university than you know the engineer does. And I mean, we're going off on a tangent here, but I think that's a really good point, right?
Well, and it crosses over to, you know, 100%. This industry as well. You know, being, like I said again, being fair. You know, in the market, you know, this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, the cannabis industry. we know what college sports is, a multi-billion-dollar, huge TV contracts, and et cetera. So this industry, cannabis, is just at the beginning. And I saw somewhere where they said like it's going to be about $200-something billion across the board in the U.S. in the next 3 to 5 years. That's a lot of money. So let's be fair. Let's divvy that up throughout the community, I think.
At least create the opportunities for everybody. You know what I mean? Like,
at least give the option for someone to dive in, right? Don't exclude them out just because of $1 million price tag for a license, which is ridiculous.
Right.
So all right, so 2020's upon us.
Yeah.
It's almost here, right?
So close. 2 months. 2 months.
Who's listen, I'm planning for next year already.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's gonna be
But I'm
great.
on the hustler life. You know what I mean?
Same.
So like,
Man, just Culture Cannabis, your events as well, man. That's going to be huge. What you got planned? I know it's going to be great.
we got a ton of stuff.
We got
planned.
4 events planned right now. Yesterday, me and JC sat down at his house. We cracked open the beer, ripped the bong, and we picked, I think, 4 dates for next year. And we got a couple coming to Northern Nevada as well. Shout out to all my Reno people. We picked about 3 dates for up there. So I think we're going to do a total of like 9 events next year total. A couple smaller ones in between. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Vincent's going to be at every single one of them as usual.
Yeah, I will be.
Mr. Cool.
Behind it. Support. Yes, sir.
Maybe Ricky Williams will come out for a couple events. We can make that happen.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, we can make that happen. Yeah, let's get some people out there. I mean, you already got celebrities.
Are we
joining
doing?
on board.
Are we doing a Hall of Fame, marijuana Hall of Fame induction 2020?
You know what? We should.
We should.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make that happen.
Okay.
Let's make that happen.
You heard it here first, people. Marijuana Hall of Fame and first ever induction 2020. It's gonna happen.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good year. I'm really excited about it. Today's Halloween. Shout out to everyone that's doing Halloween stuff. And yeah, you want to plug anything before we dip out of here, Vincent?
I mean, pretty much, again, we can go to marijuanahallofame.com. It's going to be up and running. If you have some ideas of who you want to nominate, people in the industry, we look forward to hearing from you. info@marijuanahallofame.com. Shoot us an email. Give us a ring. You're part of the community. We want to hear from you.
Where can they find you on Instagram and
Sure.
Facebook?
Instagram, Facebook,
Just at
MJ Hall of Fame.
MJ Hall of Fame
is the tag.
Cool.
And then just look us up. You'll find us.
Yeah, you'll check us out too. He's definitely all over the Culture and Cannabis page. And if you guys were at the last Culture and Cannabis, it was a really good event. I haven't been able to talk about it on the event, but just wanted to give a quick thank you to everyone that came out. Shout out to Mike Jones for coming out and did such an awesome event. Sober Junkie, all the other artists, Jalen Young. I want to call him Jalen Rose, but Jalen Young.
D Diamonds.
Tiny
Toon. OG
Surge. Yeah.
You joined Red out there too, right?
Red was out there.
Red was holding it down. Shout out to Red, bro. Red was just holding it down from the back of the scenes. The War movement was there too, and so super cool. We got a lot of stuff planned for 2020, and that's about it. I think we can wrap this bad boy up. And this is episode number 16 of the Culture and Cannabis podcast. We'll see you guys next Thursday.
Peace.
Peace.